Good morning. Double wave today.
Friday!
Yes.
Friday, some people call it.
Yeah, a lot of fun names for this day of the week. I'm Brendan here with Trevor. He's in for Heather. She is on her way. I think she's officially in the UP right now. She's on her way to a weather visit.
Yep.
So that's
in
why.
Curtis in Mackinac County.
Yeah. So that's why Trevor's in today. We got Gib in the back hitting the buttons. And we have your dad watching right now, Trev.
Is that right?
Mr.
It's probably my
Roubadeaux.
mom, actually.
Say it again?
They said it's probably my mom, actually.
No, he specified it's your dad.
Okay, I'm surprised. Well, I guess I shouldn't be surprised. They both watch all the time, but my mom sent me via text that she'd actually be able to watch this one.
Good.
And so she was really excited about that. And so I figured whenever you said my family's last, I figured it was her. Maybe they're both watching at the same time. Who knows?
I'll keep you posted. And, of course, Mother's Day coming up Sunday. I took care of my mom's gifts with a little help from my dad, too. And so I know my mom watches, so I'm going to stop right there. But anyway, we have that forecast. Trevor's been preparing us for what to expect.
Yep.
Thank you, Trevor.
Absolutely. It's a pretty easy one. The forecast is really simple, actually. But as per the usual, before we get into the forecast, which it does look really good, I dare say the best forecast of the year. We haven't had a stretch of nice, we haven't had a stretch of quiet but also warm weather like this the entire year. I think I was saying like just a week ago that we had like the warmest temperatures of the year, and we're gonna pass that again probably on Monday and Tuesdays. We're expecting a lot of areas in the North Lord to get into the 80s.
Wow.
Which I know a lot of people are ready for. I'm ready for it, but I'm also not ready for it.
Why is that?
Well, because I'm not the biggest fan of warmer temperatures.
Even 80s, like getting a little too warm for you?
You know, growing up in Texas, obviously, of course, it's warm all the time. We don't have real winters down there. And when we do get winters, it's not a full winter. It's like a brief period, like a few days or like maybe a week at most, where it's like, hey, this is what real winter is like. And then it goes back to like the 40s and 50s. And it's just like, okay, whatever. But Texas does have the occasional cool downs and ice storms and even some snow. Just this past year, they had the most snow I've seen in the years since I've been there. There's not very many big snowstorms that I can remember living through in Texas, but they had one recently where my parents, I think, had anywhere from like 4 to 6 inches outside their house in their front yard, which... Yeah, I can't remember the last time we had that much.
That probably
it definitely wasn't any time in middle or school or high school. Maybe middle school. There was a couple days in middle school, I remember in 8th grade specifically, I missed a few days due to bad weather, but I think that was mostly ice, not snow. And then I've talked about this before, I didn't miss a single day of high school, 9th through 12th grade due to bad weather. There was like a solid 4-year period where we just had no snow. Like it didn't snow for like 4 years.
Yeah.
Or at least it didn't snow bad. If we did get it, it was very minimal. Anyway, I'm getting way off topic. The point is that Texas is warm, and I grew up in that garbage. I call it garbage because it is. You ever live down there? No, it's ridiculous. It's like 100 degrees in the summer all the time. It's way too humid. No, absolutely not. It's like Florida on steroids. Florida has more humidity, but you'd be surprised that the surrounding water, because obviously Florida is just one giant peninsula. The waters regulate a lot of the temperatures, especially along the coastlines. Yeah. So like you go to the Keys, and it's like, oh, it's like even in the summer, it's really only in like the 90s, which isn't that bad. But then it has like 70% relative humidity and there's mosquitoes and all this other garbage there, and it's just like, okay, well, Texas is generally a little bit warmer with a little bit less humidity. It's still humid though, obviously being close to the Gulf like that. But even though I grew up there, I never got used to it. And it's not only did I never gained a mental blockage to it or a mental resistance to it. I didn't even gain a physical resistance to it. I very regularly, and my parents can attest to this if they feel like chiming in, that I very regularly overheated in the summer if I was outside for too long. Yeah. Even if I was drinking water and being hydrated, I would still overheat. And if I went too long outside, I would literally just break down. It happened multiple times throughout my childhood life where that happened. Okay. And I can remember at least a few where I never suffered a heat stroke, but there were a couple times that I was probably pretty close to it. And so moral of the story is I never got used to the heat. And then I found out years later beyond that I had like this unbelievably high resistance to the cold for some reason. And so that's why you'll see me walking outside. I'll walk into work just like I did today when it's 30 degrees outside or lower, and I'm walking in with a T-shirt and shorts.
Trevor's that guy.
30 degrees and 40 degrees is nothing to me.
Yeah.
Like I'll wear shorts and a T-shirt. As long as there's no significant wind adding like a ridiculous amount of wind chill to it, 30 and 40 is, if I'm only outside for like 10, 20 minutes, that's nothing.
Yeah.
That's nothing. I live and breathe that. Now, fortunately, I did eventually at some point in my childhood move away from being outside all the time to being more inside, hence me playing ice hockey. Being inside the cooler rinks, especially in the summer, was, I can't explain the, like how good it feels to, you're outside. We go to our rink in like McKinney or Richardson or wherever. I went to multiple different rinks and played for multiple different teams. Going outside and dredging through just 10 seconds of ridiculous Texas heat. And then going in the rink and going, oh, yes, I could sleep here.
Right where you belong.
Yeah. It was always my natural element. And so, like, I prefer to be a little bit more up north. And so that's why I'm kind of ready to get back into the warmer temperatures because this winter was brutal. But it's gotten worse over time. Like sometimes you have those issues that just tend to get worse.
Yeah.
I think my time up here hasn't been good for me being away from the heat. Even though I never gained a resistance to it per se, I at least had some small amount of tolerance, and like I was kind of used to it, not fully, but kind of. The past 6 years that I've been away from Texas have not been good to me because now I can't stand even a little bit of heat. Anything above low 80s is too hot.
Yeah.
And that's not an exaggeration. Anything above low 80s is too hot. It used to be that it had to get into like the 90s and the 100s before I started to really break down. Now it's like I'm outside for 5 minutes in 80-degree weather and I'm dying. I'm drenching in sweat, quite literally.
Yeah.
And I have to go inside and drink 2 quarts of water to make up for it.
Staying hydrated.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. So being up north and being away from hotter temperatures more regularly, I just don't think has been good for me because my body's been like, all right, you don't need this anymore.
Right.
Just toss my heat resistance, what little of it I had, into the garbage can.
Yeah.
It's not been good. So I'm excited for warmth, but I'm also not. Anyway, that was a
speaking of temperatures, it leads us into the weather quiz.
Tangent.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into the weather quiz. This is a unit conversion question, which we don't usually do very many of these. I don't think I've ever done one of these before. Maybe I've done a couple. But anyway, we're talking in Celsius and Kelvin, so this is not Fahrenheit. So for a lot of people, this is going to be outside of what they understand in terms of units of temperature. What is the correct unit conversion from degrees Celsius to Kelvin? And again, these are both degrees. And a lot of people who've been removed from schooling for a long time or didn't take chemistry or whatever might even be asking, what in the world is Kelvin? Because I've been asked that before. Like, what is Kelvin? Well, Kelvin, like degrees Celsius and degrees Fahrenheit, is just another unit of temperature. But we use it for a few different reasons, and I'll get into that later.
Sounds good.
Anyway, answer choices are on the screen. We're dealing with, again, degrees. It's a direct addition formula of degrees Celsius, whatever that is, plus a raw number equals your Kelvin. So that would be degrees Celsius plus 256, 273, or 310. We'll let people answer that. And then I'll get into the forecast here, which, again, is pretty simple. For the most part, there's not a whole lot to talk about. We'll start with... I think we'll just start with a look outside. What graphic am I using? I'm using the Whitefish Point camera. Let's see if I've got I know I've got a Whitefish Point graphic in here somewhere. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Me misplacing stuff. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Trevor trying to find what he did with this thing. Classic ADHD stuff going on right now. There we go. Whitefish Point. Beautiful look this morning. You rewind just like 2-3 hours ago was absolutely wondrous. Wait, how long has it been? I'm already losing track of time. 8:45. I guess it would have been more like 2 hours ago when the sun was just starting to come up. It was a beautiful sunrise. The stuff that we get sent at Hot Shots all the time, but you got to see it live. Now, what we're seeing outside there now is what we're going to see the majority of the day. Mostly sunny skies. Perhaps a little bit of haze, although I think it'll be a lot more sun than haze. And then a few overhead cirrus clouds, but again, we'll see a lot more blue than I think we will white. throughout the majority of the day. The other notable thing about today and also right now is that we started very cold, and I mean very cold. Cold enough to warrant freeze warnings in the entirety of the northern lower in northern Michigan, of course. In northern Michigan up towards the bridge, but not into the eastern upper. We had freeze warnings in all of our lower 26, 28, 20, however many counties we cover in the northern lower. We had freeze warnings in all of them. And that's because we had such cold temperatures this morning. Now, you wouldn't know exactly right now because in just the past few hours, we've warmed up rather significantly back into the 30s and low 40s. At this point, all of our temperatures around the region are above freezing. But if we had fast forward to just 3 hours ago, everything was either at or below freezing, or at least most spots were at or below freezing. We actually had one of our weather watchers who lives in Fairview, which is north of Mayo in Montmorency County, send us their weather report that it was 21 degrees in the morning where they were, and that was sent in around like 6:30 or so in the morning. And the coldest that we saw on the map was Grayling, which I think got down to a lowest of 24 that I saw. So a very cold morning, especially if you were inland. Lots of frost developing, and again, that's because we talk about this all the time, but that's because we had no cloud cover overnight, clear skies, good for stargazing, and also no wind. Whenever you get no wind, you get no movement of air and nothing to keep it in. With cloud cover, it just escapes, and that causes temperatures to rapidly fall. Even at this time of year when we're supposed to be into the 40s overnight, we drop into the 20s because there's just nothing preventing the air from just escaping into the atmosphere overnight, and our temperatures drop rapidly. And we see that a lot this time of year. We see it a lot in the winter, and we see it a lot in the early spring, basically from like the winter to early spring on nights where we don't get a lot of cloud cover, which actually doesn't happen too often in the winter because winter, thanks to our Great Lakes, they keep us cloudy all the time. But other than that, we're going to warm up fairly steadily, actually not steadily, I would say more like dramatically. In the next few hours here, we're going to jump from the 30s and low 40s to where we are right now. So I would say around 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, we'll be in the 50s. Most spots will be in the higher 40s and low 50s. So a very drastic warm-up because the sunshine is all out and there's no cloud cover to prevent it from just warming up the ground. Now, I know that's not exactly how it works. The super scientifically people will say, well, that's not how sunshine works. I know, I'm just paraphrasing. Anyway, lots of sunshine today. Won't have any problems. We'll look at Stormcast very briefly. As I mentioned, no problems. You got any plans to be outside today? Here's a zoom through the entire day. Our wind will shift a little bit at times, but for the most part, it'll be a mostly westerly to northwest wind, depending on where you are. It'll be more westerly in the northern lower. The further south you go, the more north you go, it'll be more like a northwesterly wind. Now, later tonight, we'll have a brief cold front, or not a brief cold front, but rather a weak cold front move through the region. And you can see that with a line of some broken clouds and isolated showers tonight. And that's all we're going to get from this cold front. It's not going to do much. This is a very weak cold front that'll give us a few isolated showers tonight, along with some bits and pieces of cloud cover. And then it'll go right back to clear skies and sunshine by tomorrow morning. And the most that system, that cold front, is really going to do is swap our wind out of the north and northwest. And that'll keep our temperatures just a tad cooler tomorrow than they were today. Today, we're expecting temperatures to get into the higher 50s, maybe some mid 50s, higher 50s into the higher 60s and potentially even some low 70s. Whereas tomorrow, we're not expecting any 70s. I think it'll be more like 50s to mid 60s. So just a tad cooler, not much, thanks to our northerly wind from the cold front. But other than that, it's not going to do much. And then beyond that, we'll continue to see more sunshine throughout the weekend. Sunday, notably Mother's Day, is going to be a really good day as well. Lots of sunshine, no problems. Outdoor outlook for the next several days looks great, even beyond Mother's Day. But the one thing on the banner there that I just want to mention that I've talked about several times, that we've talked about several times throughout our show, is that we will have elevated fire danger. Again, we're not quite in the summer yet. Not everything's green. There's still a lot of dead limbs around from the winter. We haven't quite removed all that yet. And so the ground is very dry. And, unless we get near consistent rain, any prolonged period of 3 or 4 days without a lot of rain, it dries out enough that whenever you get warmer temperatures and some wind, fire danger becomes a very consistent problem again, especially in the spring. Again, once we get into the summer, it's not too much of an issue because we don't have as much dry debris in branches and leaves and stuff like that. There's a little bit more moisture in all the plants come summertime. But at least for now, as things stay on the drier side with warmer temperatures, there's always a risk for elevated fire danger. This weekend is no exception. The eastern upper is actually in high to very high fire danger, and as a result, the DNR is saying even with a permit, you can't burn anything. They're not even allowing you to take permits right now due to the elevated fire danger. And on top of that, if you do have plans to go out camping, for one, be careful using a campfire to make sure you don't light anything else on fire around you, and two, to just be aware of random forest fires while you are camping. Other than that, there's nothing even remotely significant to speak on. All we're really going to have is warming temperatures, lots of sunshine, and no rain, which is what a lot of people around northern Michigan like to hear. And I'll even show the Euro model over the next few days. We talked about through Mother's Day, but how about through early next week? We'll show Monday. There's Monday now. We're looking at very early Monday morning. Still loads of sunshine all throughout the entire day. Increase in cloud cover overnight into Tuesday. And then notably Tuesday is when we'll finally get some chances for at least some rain. It doesn't look like much right now. We'll wait and see how this develops. But Tuesday and Wednesday, it looks like a little more cloud cover and some rain chances. But that system is going to be mostly to our south, which means we'll still have a mostly southerly wind ahead of this system, which means that even with cloud cover and rain around, we should still be fairly warm and much warmer than average on both of those days. And then it looks like another system late next week, so a potentially more rainy and cloudy second half of next week, but at least from now until late Monday, unadulterated sunshine, warmer temperatures, and dry conditions with no rain whatsoever, except for a few isolated showers tonight. And that's just about it. I'll show the 4-zone forecast tonight just briefly to highlight, again, the isolated showers. Temperatures should not be nearly as cold tonight. We're not going to have any freezing problems. Temperatures will be in the 40s for the most part. A few spots may be in the higher 30s, and some spots may even be in the low 50s, depending on how things shake out. But some isolated showers around. Notably, isolated showers, again, that means it's not everybody, most people will not get rain, but there will be some droplets around. And then the extended 7-day. We kind of talked most of the week already, but there it is. As far as numerical values go, warmer temperatures, 70s Mother's Day, warming up into the higher 70s, even some 80s around the region come Monday and Tuesday, and then yeah, that's pretty much it. I talked about this many times over the course of the show from the 4:30 through the 7. That this is the quietest and driest stretch of weather we've had in a long time. I can't remember the last time that we had that much sunshine and like no precipitation. It legitimately just doesn't happen throughout the winter. You get maybe 1 or 2 days max of sunshine before it just goes back to overcast skies for like 3 weeks in the winter.
A lot of sunshine graphics there.
Yes.
All right, since Trevor's parents use the same Facebook account, all right, if it is in fact Trevor's mom, Kelly, let me know, because we're seeing more comments from Mark Roubadeaux.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, so we'll say hi to Chris, watching from East Lansing. Paul's saying good morning from Rogers City, saying hi to Gib. Gib says hi. Mark says good morning from Fremont, Indiana. Such a great day today. Back from the hospital. Doctor said everything was great.
Good.
Glad everything's going okay there, Mark.
Yep.
Susan Lash Sims saying morning again. It's 40 and sunny here in Kalkaska. She was with us for our first Facebook Live at 6:20.
Yes, she was.
We have my mom watching. Hi, Mom.
Hello there.
Happy early Mother's Day.
Happy early Mother's Day.
She's saying
and happy Mother's Day, because I won't get the chance to say that to anybody directly come Sunday, unless they see me on air, but
I'm sure she appreciates that. She's saying happy Friday, Facebook friends. Hi, Brendan and Trevor. And happy Mother's Day to all the great moms. She said, I am so blessed to be a mama. And have a good weekend, everyone. Thank you, Mom. I won't see her this weekend, but in a couple weekends for her birthday. Spend some time together. So under the Mark Roubadeaux account, could be your dad, could be your mom, saying, Trev won't wear pants until it's 10 degrees. Long pants, I'm guessing. Long pants. He'll have shorts on.
I legitimately have a system. I won't wear anything over a t-shirt. Like I won't put on a jacket or even a heavy jacket until the feels like temperatures drops below 30. It used to be 25, now I do 30. And I don't wear pants unless it's below 15. Feels like temperatures.
Yeah, so the comment here says Trevor won't wear pants until it's 10 degrees, maybe 20 if it's windy.
Yeah.
And then saying that you went to a Minnesota Wild game. It was 20 below zero, and he didn't even have his winter jacket.
No.
He also skated an outdoor hockey game in Minnesota with his team. It was 0 degrees, and was the only player to break a sweat. Yeah, Trev is very hot natured.
Yeah, I remember exactly what tournament, what day they're talking about. It was, it legitimately was like, I think, -10 below zero. There was a lot of snow around, which at that time I was still living in Texas. Of course, I wasn't in college, and it was the first time that I had seen that much snow, and also the cold temperatures like that. The coldest temperature I think I had ever lived through up to that point was probably somewhere around like I think there was a day in elementary school sometime where it was like 19. And my parents, because I was so young, my parents dressed me up in like the thickest jacket they could put over my little body, and I absolutely hated it. But yeah, I had a Penn State hoodie, and some just lackadaisical like sweatpants, and that was what I wore. No gloves. And underneath my Penn State hoodie was just a T-shirt. I had short socks. I didn't even have boots. I was wearing, I'm pretty sure, just my normal tennis shoes. And then when we were out on the outdoor rink, it was the same thing. I was just, yeah. I still managed to break a sweat, as they mentioned.
Right, right. And I'm guessing this next one's from your mom. I don't know if your dad uses emojis, Trev, but this one has emojis. Do you think your mom maybe uses them?
My mom, yeah, I don't know.
Maybe. Well,
I think I'm not gonna say my dad doesn't use emojis, but I can't remember him using them.
Okay. Well, anyway, this comment here says, "May everyone have a fantastic Mother's Day weekend. Hugs to all moms," with a heart and a smiling emoji. So, I show it like you can see it, but
right,
I mean, you can't. It's very, even the text here is very small.
Zoom in that camera real deep.
Yeah.
See what we can see on that phone.
Paul guessing B. Alice, our friend and weather watcher, who we're going to see a week from today.
Yep. Hopefully I'll be there too.
Hopefully, yeah.
Hopefully, we'll see.
Putting together a plan, Alice, so we get almost the entire weather team. I don't think Joe's going to be there.
No, Joe will not be there.
But anyway, it's an event honoring our weather watchers. That's what we're talking about here.
It's for them.
Yep. Alice saying, "Good morning, Brendan and Trevor. Great job. Temp
Thank
here
you.
in Alpena, 42, and Jack Frost was here this morning."
Yep. She had called in and said they had frost on the ground this morning outside her house. So.
Paula is guessing the middle option, and Paula's saying, "Chem major, I should remember this." Well, Paula, we'll see if you were right. Susie Q going with the same option there. Kathy's saying it's a beautiful day, enjoy. Alice going with the B option as well. And Gib, are you seeing any more comments? I want to make sure my phone's working correctly. With the hugs to all moms, that's the last one on your list. Oh, Ethan's watching now too? What is Ethan saying? Good morning, Brendan and Trevor. What else, sorry? You're gonna have to slow down. So he's answering the question. Oh, not answering the question.
Yeah. Right.
Oh,
yes.
because he knows the correct answer. And he's saying he agrees with Trevor. He doesn't like the humidity. Oh, doesn't like the 90s, doesn't like the 100s. Thank you, Gib, for 50 and sunny in Sioux City, Iowa.
I miss Iowa. I want to go back.
And then what else? And it's climbing to 90.
Yep.
Goodness gracious.
Sounds like the Midwest.
Yeah. I don't know. I can't see Ethan's comment, but anyway, thank you, Gib, for relaying that. Any other comments before we get to the answer? Okay, he also said good morning to Gib. All right. Got to get that in there. Yeah. All right, Mr. Roubadeaux, what is the answer?
Many people guessed B, and that is the answer. It's degrees Celsius plus 273. If you want to be super specific, it's 273.15. And I've had somebody ask me before, like, why in the world do we even use Kelvin? Like, what is the point of it? We have degrees Fahrenheit, and then we have our conversion to Celsius. You know, Celsius back to Fahrenheit, Fahrenheit back to Celsius. So we already have two different degrees of measurement. Why do we have Kelvin? What in the world is Kelvin there for? Especially at such a ridiculous number, like the 273. Where does that come from? Like, what in the world? Now, I'm not going to get into the sciencey explanation and history behind why 273 is the conversion, because I'd be talking forever. But what I can say is the reason why we use it is because there are there are physics and mathematical equations that we use in meteorology sometimes, and also even outside of meteorology, that requires a temperature, and we mostly use the metric system, right? So we're talking degrees Celsius. And a lot of times it requires intense multiplication or division, but sometimes whenever you're using degrees Celsius, you may need to make a calculation in multiplication or division in one of these complex formulas and equations that we use. You may need to use the degrees, and sometimes the degrees in Celsius may be 0. Okay, well, what do you do that? Okay, well, everybody knows, right, basic multiplication. If you try to multiply or divide anything by 0, then no matter what happens, the answer is always going to come out to be 0, right? And so if you're trying to make one of these, advanced formulas or equations, and you use degrees Celsius and it's 0, then your answer is going to come out to be 0, which is not correct. And so in situations like that, where degrees Celsius is 0, then we can swap our units to Kelvin and then get the answer we're looking for, right? Because Kelvin is also in the metric system. It's just a different unit in the metric system. So we can use the conversion between degrees Celsius and Kelvin to give us the answer we want, and avoid having to worry about multiplication or division equaling 0, because degrees Celsius is 0. And so that's why we use Kelvin, is to avoid situations like that. And then some people may be smart and say, but what if Kelvin, by some chance, is also 0? Okay, well, if Kelvin's is 0, then Celsius can't be 0, right? Then Celsius would be negative 273, which does not happen naturally on this planet unless you're in a lab.
Yeah. Look at those weather quiz standings, Trev.
Yes, and so first of all, everybody got it right today. Our Facebook viewer this morning, I guess, was Susan Last Sims. Susan Last Sims. Sorry, I messed it up just a tad bit. And everybody got it right today. So,
cool.
And overall, the week overall looks like everybody did pretty good. 4 for 5 all down the board, and then Sarah was 3 for 5. So overall, everybody was above 50%, which is solid. That's pretty nice. Good job, everyone.
Yay.
A quick round
now
of applause.
We'll talk about Monday. Since we don't have a weekend morning show, we're on live 4:30 to 7 a.m. Monday morning. But Trevor, as you very well know, and I worked weekends as well, we provide coverage in the evenings.
We do.
Yep. So Trevor will be back here tomorrow, yes?
Tomorrow at, I think, 6. I don't want to promise anything because the last 2 weeks we have not had a show at 6.
Okay.
2 weekends ago, we didn't have a show in the early evening at all. And then last weekend, we had a show at 7 instead of 6. And that's all because of, with golfing, and then there was the Derby, the Triple Crown happening, and then also with NBA playoffs and taping and all that stuff. It's been throwing everything through. The last 2 weekends, we've recorded our 11 o'clock show at 10. And then the past 2 weekends, we haven't even had a show at 6 on Saturday. So I don't know. And last weekend, we didn't have a show on Sunday at 6 either because the Derby went way over. So I don't know. I don't want to make any promises. But normally, we have a show at 6 on both 6 and 11 on both Saturday and Sunday.
If you're not in northern Michigan, or if you don't have cable, satellite, and antenna, you can always stream live on upworthlive.com.
Yep.
And there's a freighter behind Trevor, way in the distance in Lake Superior, by the way.
I see it.
I love to be on freighter watch there. All right, I don't see any other comments after Jackie saying she got 4 for 4. Gib, any other comments? Tom saying something? Let me update. Oh, there we go. Thank you. Yep, I got it now. Yeah, good morning, B&T, Brendan Trevor. Bois Blanc Island, we once had a resident who wore only shorts all winter and bathed in Lake Huron until the ice was too thick. I'm sure that was a sight to see, Thomas. Happy Friday. I've been on the road all week and couldn't check it. God bless.
That's just Canadian right there is what that is.
Yeah, probably. And then Jackie's saying, have a good weekend. Thank you, Trevor, for getting up early, providing weather coverage for us.
Of course.
Thank you, of course. And thank you for joining us, wherever you may be this morning. We'll leave it there, and we'll see you back. Trevor will be here tomorrow. I'll see you Monday. Bye.